That came out in a federal filing. And it also came out, Shedeur Sanders got paid $17.7 million from the NFLPA. This is obviously the record, the most amount of money that's ever been given from an NFLPA licensing deal, I guess. You know, they said a trading card deal potentially built up half of that. Okay. Where the other $8.7 million or whatever the case would be would still be like top 2-3 all time in the history. Travis Hunter had $12.8 million, I believe, in this entire thing. Tom Brady had like 9 something.
The NFL world has just been hit with one of the most shocking financial stories anyone has seen in years. And no, it's not about a superstar quarterback signing a record-breaking contract. It's not about a veteran landing a massive extension. This story is about Shedeur Sanders receiving an incredible $17.7 million through NFLPA licensing and marketing deals, an amount that has stunned fans, analysts, and even former NFL players. The first reaction from almost everyone has been exactly the same. Where's all this money coming from? Think about it for a second. We're talking about a player who hasn't even become an established NFL superstar yet. He hasn't won an MVP. He hasn't made multiple Pro Bowls. He hasn't led a team to a Super Bowl. Yet somehow, according to public filings, Shedeur Sanders earned more money through NFLPA-related licensing opportunities than some of the biggest names in football history. That number immediately caught everyone's attention.
Idea, especially because he wasn't top 10 in jersey sales. Like, I could kind of understand, or at least you could get there maybe if he was like the number 2 or 3 overall selling jersey, but he wasn't in the top 10. You mentioned it. I think it was 9.9 or 9.8 million from Panini of America. And then the other things that were mentioned in there were like Madden, the NCAA game was mentioned. And then that's not even including his other endorsements. Like, I don't understand how someone who didn't really kind of make any headway in the league.
Former players and media personalities couldn't believe what they were seeing. The amount wasn't just surprising, it was historic. Reports showed that Shedeur received approximately $17.7 million through NFLPA marketing and royalty agreements. To put that into perspective, legendary quarterback Tom Brady reportedly earned significantly less through similar NFLPA licensing programs during his playing career. That fact alone is enough to make people stop scrolling. But here's where things become even more interesting. The discussion isn't centered around whether Shedeur deserves the money. Most people agree that if someone generates value, they should absolutely be compensated. The real mystery is understanding how the NFLPA generated enough revenue to pay one player nearly $18 million. For years, many players viewed NFLPA licensing checks as nice bonuses, not life-changing amounts of money. Yet now we're seeing numbers that rival entire NFL contracts. So what exactly happened? According to reports and public documents, a massive portion of the money appears to have come from licensing agreements involving trading cards, video games, marketing partnerships, and player image rights. One reported payment alone was worth nearly $9 million and is believed to be connected to a major trading card agreement. That's where things start to make sense. Shedeur Sanders has become one of the most marketable athletes in football. Whether people love him or criticize him, everyone seems to have an opinion. In today's media environment, attention equals value.
If the NFLPA is generating that amount of capital just for one player who is not the star of the league. He's one of the stars, but not the guy. I mean, if the NFLPA is able to generate that type of money, that's good news for the future of the NFL and for the athletes of the NFL. If the NFLPA is also acting as like an agency arm for you, bringing money in, it's like if that's one player, that's Shedeur Sanders. It's crazy to think if they were able to, what they'd be able to do with Mahomes or Kelsey in this world, obviously with how sellable he is.
And few athletes generate attention quite like Shedeur Sanders. His journey from Jackson State to Colorado alongside his father, Deion Sanders, became one of the biggest stories in college football history. Every game generated headlines. Every interview created discussion. Every social media post attracted engagement. Fans watched. Critics watched. The media watched. Everyone watched. When Colorado football became one of the biggest stories in sports, Shedeur was at the center of it all. That visibility matters. Companies don't pay athletes based solely on touchdowns or statistics anymore. They pay for influence. They They pay for audience reach. They pay for cultural relevance. And whether people wanted to admit it or not, Shedeur Sanders became one of the most recognizable names in football long before he ever played an NFL snap. Still, $17.7 million is a staggering number. Even people who support Shedeur found themselves asking questions. How did the NFLPA secure deals worth that much? How much revenue did those partnerships generate overall? And perhaps the biggest question of all, is this the future? Because if the NFLPA can create this kind of financial opportunity for one player, what happens when they apply the same strategy to established superstars? Imagine players like Patrick Mahomes. Imagine Travis Kelce.
And number two with the crazy number as well, but that was to see 17 million was insane. I mean, he was clearly by far, in my opinion, the most popular player from his draft class for a number of reasons. People hated to see him, hated everything about him, and then people loved him, loved everything about him. Obviously, he didn't make the headway on the field, didn't play a ton until the end of the season, but that was insane. I am interested, like you said, to see where the breakdown or how the breakdown really is. All I care about is that he's getting the money, that he's
bingo.
Because every time, the NFL, once the draft happened, I mean, I felt like every other post of theirs was about Shedeur.
Yeah. Imagine the league's biggest stars participating in licensing programs that are producing these types of results. The potential numbers become almost impossible to imagine. That's why many former players aren't criticizing the situation at all. In fact, they're celebrating it. For decades, players have fought for a larger share of football's enormous financial success. Every collective bargaining negotiation eventually comes down to the same basic issue. How much value do players create, and how much should they receive? If the NFLPA is finding new ways to generate millions of dollars outside of traditional contracts, that's a massive victory for players. It creates leverage, it creates opportunity, and it creates additional income streams that don't rely entirely on team contracts. That could completely change future negotiations between players and owners. But Shedeur wasn't the only name making headlines. His former Colorado teammate Travis Hunter reportedly earned approximately $12.8 million through similar agreements. That number is incredible by itself.
It's kind of all listed out publicly, I guess, in a federal filing. It just says royalties and player marketing. One of them, though, is for $9 million here on 2025, May 16th. We assume that one would be the card Panini one that was in there. There's a couple other $1 million ones that just say royalty marketing, June 27, 2025.
That one might be the NCAA March Man or video game cover.
It's all before the season even kicked off.
Yeah, congrats to him, man. Congrats to him. And is this going to continue to be something that is happening from the NFLPA to its players?
It somehow was overshadowed by Shedeur's historic total. The fact that two former Colorado stars are sitting at the top of these earnings lists says a lot about the power of modern athlete branding. Years ago, athletes built their brands after becoming professional stars. Today, many athletes arrive in the NFL with massive audiences already established. They have millions of followers. They have national recognition. They have sponsorship opportunities waiting for them before they ever take a professional snap. The game has changed. Social media changed it. Digital content changed it. The relationship between fans and athletes changed it. And Shedeur Sanders may be one of the biggest examples of that transformation. What's especially fascinating is that Shedeur reportedly wasn't among the league leaders in jersey sales. Normally, people might assume a player earning nearly $18 million through licensing deals would dominate merchandise rankings. But that's not necessarily how modern marketing works anymore. Attention comes from many different sources. Video games, trading cards.
Yeah, it seems like they're on the verge of it. This is like a great thing, I think, moving forward. It'll be interesting to see, like, next year who gets the most from these group licensing agreements. And yeah, I think a big chunk of it is the guaranteed for the trading card situation, but still $17 million in 1 year. If that's the case, how much did he bring in? Because we know, like, there's not a 50-50 split, I'm guessing. Like, players aren't getting 50%. I doubt it when it comes to a marketing situation. So he had to bring in a ton of money for him to actually receive that much.
Yeah, and how the NFLPA go about getting that much money, So that means somebody had a vision, a plan, enacted on it, executed it, and both sides were able to win. If Shedeur's getting 17.7, we assume the NFLPA is going to be getting a lot of money as well.
Social media engagement, digital content, brand partnerships, collective licensing agreements. All of those elements combine to create value. And apparently, They combined to create a record-setting payday. Another major point discussed by former players was the role of the NFLPA itself. Traditionally, many fans think of the NFLPA primarily as a labor union representing players during negotiations. But what if its role is expanding? What if the NFLPA is becoming a revenue-generating machine? That possibility excites a lot of people. Because if the organization can consistently secure lucrative opportunities for players, it provides benefits far beyond collective bargaining agreements. Players earn more money. The union becomes stronger. Athletes gain additional financial security. Everyone benefits. That's why many analysts describe this news as potentially revolutionary. Of course, questions remain. Some former players pointed out that previous licensing arrangements often provided relatively small percentages to individual athletes. In some cases, players felt they could earn more money through independent merchandising efforts than through collective programs. That's what makes these new figures so surprising. The economics appear dramatically different. Either the deals themselves have become much larger, or the distribution model has changed significantly. Maybe both. Whatever the explanation, the numbers suggest a new era has arrived. And that new era could have enormous implications across professional sports. The timing is interesting as well. The sports business landscape is evolving rapidly. Athletes today understand branding better than ever. Fans consume content differently than ever. Companies spend marketing dollars differently than ever. Everything is changing. The old model where athletic performance alone determined financial opportunities no longer exists. Visibility matters. Personality matters. Storytelling matters. Audience engagement matters. Shedeur Sanders excels in all of those areas. That's one reason many people believe his earnings reflect more than just football performance. They reflect marketability. They reflect influence. They reflect cultural relevance. Whether someone supports him or not, it's difficult to argue against the impact he's had on football conversations over the past several years. Even throughout training camps and preseason discussions, Shedeur remained one of the most talked about players in football. Media outlets covered his every move. Fans debated his potential endlessly. Content creators built entire channels discussing his career. That level of attention creates enormous value. And value eventually translates into money. As more details emerge regarding these agreements, fans will likely gain a better understanding of exactly how these payments were structured. Until then, speculation will continue. People will continue asking where the money came from. People will continue debating whether similar earnings are possible for other players. And people will continue wondering whether this is simply the beginning. One thing is certain. The days when athlete earnings were limited to contracts and endorsements are gone. We're witnessing the emergence of entirely new financial ecosystems within professional sports. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is sitting at the center of one of the biggest examples anyone has ever seen. $17.7 million. A record-setting figure, a shocking number, and perhaps a glimpse into the future of athlete compensation. Whether you're a fan of Shedeur Sanders or not, this story represents something much larger than one player. It represents the changing business of sports. It represents the growing power of athlete brands. And it represents the possibility that future generations of players could earn more money than ever before through innovative licensing and marketing opportunities. The biggest question now isn't whether Shedeur got paid. The biggest question is this. If one player can generate nearly $18 million today, how much could the next superstar generate tomorrow? Because if these numbers continue rising, football's financial future may be even bigger than anyone imagined.